So we're starting the fourth parak, and the name is similar to the parak before, Misha Amar. And even if you say Misha Amar Reini Nazir, it's still the same parak as before. So you have to say Misha Amar Reini Nazir V'Shama Chaver V'Amar Vani. That's the name. That's what you can call it. The parak before was Misha Amar Reini Nazir V'Shama. So you have to get a couple of words in order to know which parak you are. Once I remember when I was a kid, I was learning something and it said about the parak, and I was trying to figure it out, and I didn't realize that the name of the parak is like 10 words. Just to get the name of the parak.
For Shabbos, Rabbi Loza did Mila, Rabbi Loza. So he just changed it.
Right. So they have a few Rabbi Loza Ha'orig, Rabbi Loza the Mila. Different. Here they didn't figure out how to do it, only by saying a lot of words. Mishama Haveni Nazir. So one person said Haveni Nazir. V'Shama Chaver V'Amar Vani. And someone else heard and said, me too. Vani. And another person also said Vani. Skudon Nazir. That's also a way to become a Nazir. You don't have to say it out by the whole words Haveni Nazir. If you say Vani, you're holding on to somebody else. Your mitzvahs. Could be has something to do with the yad, that you're holding on to what he said. You're an extension. That's also a way to become a Nazir. And now, Hutar Harishon, what if the first one did a Torah Nedarim and he got out of his Nazirus? And the other people only became a Nazir as much as he's a Nazir because he said Bani. You might have thought that Bani is another way of saying whatever you said, I said, and now I said it. Now I said it. But, yeah, but it doesn't mean like that. It means that I'm what you are. And if the first one is going to undo his, if the first one undid, so then the second one is holding on to nothing.
Wow.
I became a Nazir like you're a Nazir, but if you're not a Nazir, then I'm not a Nazir.
Wow.
So that's what it says. Hutar Rishon, Hutar Kulan.
And he is more like I'm with you.
Right, but it's only as long as you're you. But if you're not, it's not that's the way of expressing myself,
Mhm.
because then it wouldn't make a difference if the first one did a Torah Nedarim. But here it says Hutar Rishon, Hutar Kulan. If the first one did a Torah Nedarim, he's not a Nazir, so then nobody else is a Nazir. How about Hutar? I didn't say, maybe I didn't read it. Abani, Bani means many people. Bani. And the second person also said Bani. Is Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Reuven said Haveni Nazir. Shimon said Bani. And Levi said Bani. So there are three people over here. The original one plus two add-ons. So if the first one got off, but Hataras Nedarim said the other ones are also mutter. Put the Akron. And if the last one did Hataras Nedarim, Levi, Akron mutter, Bakul and Asurim. But they still stay also because that's because he took off his. There's no reason why they should go off. End of the first Mishnah. New Mishnah. Amar Haveni Nazir, V'Shama Chaver V'Amar, Pi Kefiv, V'Sari Kesara. That instead of not saying Vani, but he said my mouth. The first one said I'm a Nazir, and the second one said my mouth is like his mouth. Or he said my hair is like his hair. That's also a way of becoming a Nazir also. Because the Gemara is going to explain that it means that my mouth is, the Gemara has a question what this means, but the Gemara is going to come out that it means that just like his mouth is usher to have wine, so my mouth is also like his. Just like his hair is usher to be cut, so too is mine. So that's another way of being Kabbalah Nazirus. We had a Mishnah, if someone only accepted 1 point, Hasan and Vizag, so he passed that everything. If he says one thing is usher, everything is usher. There was a sheet over there that said that he has to accept everything. But we hold that even this will be enough. If he says I'm not going to take the haircut like a Nazir, so then he becomes a full blown Nazir. That was Mishnah 2. Mishnah 3. Areni Nazir, V'Shama Ishto, V'Amr Bani. His wife said, I'm me too. He said he's a Nazir, and his wife said, I'm also a Nazir, I'm also a Nazira. So could he be Mayfair? It's like she would have said Areni Nazira, so he could make Mayfair, he could cancel her. So he did. Mayfair as Shalom, but Shalom Kayim. He could undo hers, and his is still going to be effective because he can't take off his, but he could take off hers. How about if she's the one who said Haveni Nazira, B'Shama Baal of Amar Bani, she said first that I'm a Nazira, and he said me too. Any affair, he can't be made for his wife's Naziros. Why not? Anybody have an idea why not?
She said I'm a
Nazira, and he said me too.
With the husband.
Yes.
You can't make sure.
He can't be made for hers anymore.
He's basing his on her.
So what?
So if he's made for hers, then
He accepted it.
So Dr. Fine is saying because he accepted it is like an affirmation. The fact that he accepted it. He said
he
he's
accepted
he's
it.
building on it even. He's in building on it. He says you're a Nazira, I'm building on that. I'm going to be a Nazir also like you. So that's considered an affirmation. So if he affirmed it, once you affirmed it, you can't cancel it anymore. That we have din of kiyum, and the Gemara is going to say this pshat. It seems the Gemara didn't know it right away, but the Gemara is going to come out. But Dr. Fine said that it's considered a kiyum. It's considered an affirmation. The fact that he's building on it, that's at least affirming it. He's affirming it and even building on it.
Whoever I spoke to and heard this mission for the first time also said it's a Q.
Right.
And everybody says that.
And the Gemara didn't think so.
The
The Gemara didn't think so. The Gemara it took time for the Gemara to figure it out. The Gemara is going to say so. I
I
think.
know, but even the function don't say it.
They don't say it, even
They
though
don't
the
say
Gemara
it's a
is going to say such a
The
thing.
Gemara says that, but the function don't say it.
I didn't see.
The function says it because that he can't put on his own.
So what's wrong? What's wrong with nullifying his own? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he's like
He's
her.
pulling the rug out, like we'll see.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what?
I think they actually.
If he
Go ahead.
nullifies her, he's gonna be like her, right?
He said he's going to be the same thing. Me too.
And
You said
if he's a Nazir already,
now
and,
he's in
and he
Nazir.
and he nullifies, he can't nullify himself. So how could he? If he nullifies her, he's nullifying himself.
So Leib Yaakov saying another shot that Rav Nissim was hinting to, that there's another way to learn the Mishnah. The reason why he can't nullify hers is because if he nullifies hers, then he's nullifying his, and he can't nullify his. But I don't understand that. Yeah, okay, but if he does it with a trick, if he does it, he can't do a Torah Sodom, he can't do a Torah Sodom on his own. But if he did something indirectly that Maisa pulls the rug out of the whole thing, so why is it such a lacha that he can't do it? If he based his Nazirus on somebody else's, on his wife's, and then he's able to cancel his wife's, and automatically his is going to be canceled. So then why is the problem? Like Yaakov, why would you say it's a problem? It's true that by taking away hers, that hers automatically falls down also. But why is there such a thing that he can't do that? There is such a thing that a person can't be matir his own neder, can't be made for his own neder. But if he built his neder on somebody else's, and then he's able to take the way that somebody else's, he's able to do it. So
So it seems
it's
like,
such a
it
din.
seems like what the Dr. Final.
You can say there's a difference between Shaila.
It's
There's a difference between Shaila and Hafur, because Shaila means effectively it would never existed. Well, her husband is his wife, it exists until it doesn't.
The Gemara is going to go into that also. Based on these pshatim, the Gemara is going to go into this question about does he uprooting it retroactively or only Mikam Labod. That's the Gemara is going to talk about also. And David?
He's giving value to her years by him saying me too.
So you're saying the pshat about being making. You're saying that the pshat Dr. Fine said about affirming it by saying that he's saying me too. So he's automatically affirming it. Once he affirmed it, he can't nullify it anymore. So we have two pshatim on the stage. One is that it's considered an affirmation. The other one is that if he's going to nullify hers and it's going to affect himself, he can't do anything which affects himself. Those are going to be the two possibilities the Gemara is going to juggle with. Next Mishnah, Hareini Nazir. Va'at. I'm a Nazir. And then he asks his wife, how about you? Most of I didn't see the Gemara yet on this, but I think that's what the Mepharshim said.
No, but you're saying like a question.
A question, how about you? He can make his wife a Nazir. He can't say you are hereby a Nazir.
I see.
I'm a Nazir. And how about you? And she said, Amen, which means she accepts that she's going to become a Nazir also. Mefiresh Allah, he still could nullify hers. Bishalokaya. And his is still going to remain. Why could he nullify hers? Even though he said, how about you?
Because she made a decision.
Because
she made a decision to be on her own.
and he didn't affirm. He didn't affirm it. He didn't affirm it. Is that what you're saying? He didn't affirm it. He just said, "How about you?" And she said, "Yes," but he didn't affirm it. If you and then I talk about how about if he would have said, "I'm a Nazir and you also should be a Nazir," and the zero. Of course, he can make her be in the zero. But if he's saying he wants it to be, and then she said she is, that might be considered that he's affirming it even before it happened. So let's talk about that. But we'll take the Pashup shot that the Rishonim say that he says a question. He didn't affirm anything. He just said, "How about you?" And she said yes. So he still could be made for it because he didn't affirm it. And his is of course going to be Kayam because his is not affected at all by hers. The opposite case, I ran in a zero. She became a Nazir first, and then she asked, "How about you?" And he said, "Amen." And he accepted himself to be a Nazir. He cannot. Why here? Why not? Anybody have any choice over here? Any for the last case, the surely is going to be because it's considered an affirmation. any other
Well, he
way.
said- he
Oh, you can
said
say that
Amen.
also.
No, you should.
Because
I
he
ran
said
in Nazir,
Amen.
and he said Vata. She said, and how about you? And he said, yes, me too. Amen.
Me
So-
too means that I'm glad that you are.
No, I am.
So
Again.
so how did he affirm her? He didn't.
Because if he's building, his amen is going to be building on hers. Means what does it mean? Vata. If someone just says Vata, that's nothing. You have to say amen in zero. Vata. And his amen is also saying that I am a Nazir like you are a Nazir. So
So that's an
here it's
affirmation.
considered an affirmation, and now it can't be made fair anymore. How about the other shot that was suggested? Not that it's that the other shot is going to be that if he's going to be made fair, he'll be taking away hers, which will indirectly take away his also. He can't do that. So you have the two pshatim as before also. And the reason why any yachal hafer, so we'll see the Gemara. What's the reason why any yachal hafer is it because it's considered an affirmation, which seems to be the pashup shot. And there's another shot over there also that he can't indirectly pull the rug out of his own zeros either. So that was the Mishnah. Four Mishnahs more or less. If we divided it the way we did, it might be this is the way it's divided in the Mishnahs. The first case was about Vani. People could be nitfas onto his Naziros, and they all in Nazirim. If the first one is going to be undone by Ataras Nadorim, so then it's going to make a dominoes, everyone's going to be off. And I'm not sure if the word dominoes is right, we'll see in a second. And if the last one became with this, so there's no reason why it should affect the earlier ones. Okay, so that's what the Gemara is going to work on for a while. Yosef Shlakish Kamei to Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya is not Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is famous Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rabbeinu HaKadosh. This is his grandson. Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya was the grandson of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And Rish Lakish was many times says things in his name. It seems that he was he was sure he was a Talmud Chacham. He wasn't just a Nasi, he was a Talmud Chacham. Sometimes you find that Nasiim or the Reish Galusa sometimes were not the Talmid Chachamim, they were a position of power. But Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, we see, was a Talmud Chacham, and Rish Lakish many times quotes him.
Nazir because you're from Malta's base David?
Yes, maybe. Now, Yosef Rish Lakish was sitting before him, and Rish Lakish was saying, Yosef Kamar. This lesson that they have more very many times. Yosef somebody in front of somebody, and he was sitting and saying. So who's the one? Who's the saying? Who's the one who's talking? So I wasn't sure, and it comes up pretty often. But it seems that the one who is first introduced as sitting, Rish Lakish was sitting before Rabbi Nasiya, and he was sitting and saying. So Rish Lakish is the one who's going to say this. Rish Lakish is the author of this statement. The who said tfisu kulam b'soch tedibu. This halacha that says vani that people could hang on to could seize on to somebody else's nazirus, that they say I'm a nazir, Harini nazir, and the other people say vani. So it only has to be toch tedibu. Toch tedibu means within the time that it takes to talk, a very short amount of time. Kedei dibu means the time that it says, like the minimum speech, and toch tedibu means within that time. So then he could hang on to somebody else's Kabbalah. But if it was longer than that, then it's already expired, and you can't, he's finished saying, and now you're saying Ani, it's not hanging on to anything. It doesn't connect to the first statement. That was Rish Lakish's statement. The how long is that? What's called the minimum speech? Kedei she'ela shalom, as long as it takes to greet somebody. The kama kedei she'ela shalom, how much is that? How much does it? What's considered greeting somebody? Kedei she'omer shalom Talmud l'Rav, the way a Talmud would greet his Rebbe. And the Gemara doesn't tell us what that is. The Rishonim seem to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Means a regular person, you don't say Shalom Alecha. And to a Rebbe, you say Shalom Alecha Rabbi.
I thought Rabbi Amor.
Some say Shalom Alecha Rabbi Amori. Some say not. Some say only Shalom Alecha Rabbi. The Gemara doesn't go into it at all. The Gemara is going to discuss the whole halacha about Tochli Dibur, and here it's talking about Sheilas Talmud Rav, but it doesn't say openly what that is. And there might be a question. What?
It's less than a second, the way Rebbe says. It's less than a second.
Is it a difference if you say Shalom Alecha Rabbi, Shalom Alecha Rabbi Amori? How many split seconds
They're all
are
less than
there?
a second.
They're all less than a second. How would you say it?
Shalom Aleichem.
How many seconds was that?
Is that less than a second too?
I think so. No, but also
Good,
not
okay.
only, I have a question, a side question. You go over and you say, it's not just, it's quick.
You're saying the way people would say it when they're greeting somebody.
First,
Actually,
you have to
It's not
greet
just-
him, it's a greeting, it's the second before, the great.
No.
No, it's not inside that kids.
What's going on?
If I meet you in the street, I just don't say shalom, I say, oh, shalom, or whatever. It's the greeting goes also another half a second, no?
I don't know what the before is, but the words alone. The words.
And
the
also,
words-
you don't be so, what's the word, abrupt. Right
Okay.
afterwards, you do something else. Right after, you wait another 2 seconds till you do something, no?
I don't know, that's,
You're saying it's not only the words, it's the,
It's right.
the.
You don't, you'll look at him
the
another
music, there's
second
a thing
afterwards,
called
right?
Rest, the rest.
that's the
is
Kiddush,
also
to say
there.
that, the whole Avirah is included
Because
also.
according to Tysus, they explains it because you need to be on time for Chayzer. You're not gonna be abrupt. No?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
The Rashi here, the father says, the having shalosh table.
The what?
Three words. The time it takes to say 3 words. And the Gemara doesn't differentiate.
And without the umori, even without the umori.
What do you call that before the song? What is it called? The Pticha. In the English, what do you call it?
The introduction.
Introduction. That's okay. So
No, but I was talking about the rests. I think what he was talking about would be like the aleph. You have a word and there's an aleph in it.
what happens with Aleph?
Stretch it
It's
out.
there, but it doesn't sound any.
That's okay. Anyway, the Gemara doesn't even tell us. It's interesting. This is sugya. The Gemara doesn't tell us what it is. They do bring down the Gemara Baba Kama that talks about Shamal Ravi. Sometimes the Gemara, there's a Gemara in Brachas that says that Rav Yossi met Eliyahu Navi, and Eliyahu Navi says Shamal Ravi, and he answers Shamal Ravi Amori. So it could be there's a difference when you're initiating the greeting or you're responding. But here the Gemara just talks about, it seems 3 words. The Rishonim going through the Gemara that it's 3 words, Shamal Ravi, which is very, very interesting because you're talking about, like you say, a split second. So in order to say Bani, it has to be within the Tochidei Dibor of the person that said Aveni Nazir, and then you say Bani right away, Tochidei Dibor, then it's considered Hatfasa, then you seized onto his words, connected, but if not, then it doesn't take effect. Amalei, he said to him, who said to him? Rabbi Nazir said to Rish Lakish, Tuv lo Shavkis Rav Chol Talmida. You're not leaving any space for the Talmud. It means if you say the only amount of time you have, it has to be within the time that you greet somebody, so then you're not leaving any space for the Talmud. What does that mean? So it seems to be that the Talmud, if somebody said Hareini Nazir, the Talmud would like to seize onto his words and say also Bani, and his Rebbe happens to be passing by, and he has to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi, he has to actually say Shalom Alecha Rabbi, then he's not going to anymore be able to be nitfas onto the Nazir. You're not leaving him any space
Shabbat is
to leave. Shuv lo hinachta makom the Talmud. You didn't leave any more space for the Talmud. Means if you say that he has to say it within the time that the Talmud could say Shalom Alecha Rabbi, and if you waited that time, it's too late. So what's going to be if someone said Hareini Nazir and there's a Talmud there that would like to say Vani, but his Rebbe happens to pass by right that split second, and he has to greet his Rebbe.
and he has to greet him, then that time is up.
And then he
if
can't do
says
anymore.
Vani,
He can't say Vani anymore.
Shalom Alecha Rebbe Vani. It's too late.
And too late. And you won't be able to be nitfas in the Nazir. So what's the big terrible thing?
Yes, what's so terrible?
I don't know. So that's the that was
So that's Hareini Nazir.
he has to have any Nazir.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to. That was just, now it could be that the Gemara means there are other cases also we would like somebody to have the Tochidei Dibor span in order to be able to.
And anytime it's going to be with a Rebbe.
And if Rebbe's right, if Rebbe's right there, you're taking away that Tochidei Dibor. Not in this, maybe in this case, it wouldn't bother us so much that he wouldn't be able to nitfas, like no. But there are other cases that we talk about before learning. We spoke about a kinyan, or someone made a kinyan, and then he wants to be to close the Tochidei Dibor, which he's allowed to. But if you're only going to give him the time of Tochidei Dibor, and his Rebbe happens to pass by, what's he going to do? He's going to first say, I take it back, and then he's going to say, Shalom Alecha Rebbe. The Rebbe's going to look at him, what kind of derech eretz is that? So I don't know the answer, but here the Gemara, if you didn't see had a complaint that if you're going to only limit it to Tochidei Dibor or Shalom Alecha Rebbe, sometimes you're going to take away that space from the Talmud to be able to act upon the Tochidei Dibor.
You gotta finish this.
I didn't hear.
I'm not getting it. It is enough space to.
He only has that time. He has the time that it says Shalom Alecha Rabbi. That time he has in order that he could be nitfas onto somebody else's Hareini Nazir. And now a Rebbe happens to be passing by, and he has to utilize that time to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi. And then he wants to go back and say Bani. It's too late because you already said Shalom Alecha Rabbi. That time is over. It's 1.1 second, and
It
it's
doesn't
over.
matter how long it is. You're saying it's
Whatever it is.
already used up.
Yeah, whatever it is, it was used.
Uh-huh.
And then he won't be able to be nitfas on it, and it's not fair to the Talmud, so to speak.
And what's the chance something like this might happen?
Right, also the split second right away, as soon as he came. So,
This
but
is
that was
only
Rabbi
Rish Lakish. Nobody
Rish-
else
no,
said how long.
Rish Lakish is the one who said how long.
Everybody must agree that there's gonna be a time when Bani doesn't.
Yeah, for sure, 5 minutes for sure,
Or
Vani,
if the guy's not there.
Yeah, okay. But here it said that it's the Torah de Dibur, and the only complaint that
And
the
this-
Yehuda Nasi had was that you're not giving enough space for the Talmud to be able to hang
There'll be
on.
Times when it's not.
So that's not right.
Uh-huh.
And therefore the Mepharshim say that he's gonna allow not Torah de Dibur, even Kedei Dibur, right after that. He's also gonna agree that if it would have been, 6 words, 7 words, that's too much. But 3 words, right after 3 words, give the Talmud enough time. So it doesn't have to be Torah de Dibur. What? Okay, so then say if it's gonna be 4 words, then it means you have to have 1 more. Whatever the space.
Where Mori comes from, this time. Shalom Aleichem, and yeah.
No, whatever you're gonna say Torah de
Whatever you're
Dibur
gonna
is,
say
so
to your
then
Rav, it'll be
whatever
used up.
whatever Shelas Talmud the Rav is gonna be, he's gonna say you have to have a drop. So he's gonna allow that even if you're nitfas, not very far away, not 2 seconds away, but if it would be right after Shalom Aleichem Rabbi, give him the time to say Shalom Aleichem Rabbi, what the Rosh calls mechubar. It has to be mechubar, like right after that. It's adjacent to it. It's not within, but it's adjacent to it. That's also would be good enough. So we didn't see is arguing on that mashu. I think more to make a deal out of it. That mashu, does it have to be Toch Kedei Dibur, or it even could be Samuch L'Kedei Dibur?
Uh-huh.
The Gemara's not going to use those words, but that seems to be in Machlokas. But the Gemara continues, Tanya, top of the page.
So now Tanya Nami Hacha is gonna be like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.
No, like Rish Lakish.
Really?
And top place it says over here, Pirush Kav Shem Lakish, top line. We're going to bring right to Rish Lakish that it is Toch Kedei Dibur. So the Taisus, top line here, Pirush Kav Shem Lakish.
Mhm.
He waited as long as it takes to speak, which we know is right away. He's going to say Shelish Talmud L'Rav. Vamavani, too late. Who Aser? The person who spoke first, he's Aser. Vachaver Mutter, because even though he said Vani, but he waited Kedei Dibur. It's too long. Kama Kedei Dibur, Kedei Shelish Talmud L'Rav. And if he waited that amount of time, it's too late. And even though we didn't see had a complaint, if it's too late, the Talmud doesn't have a chance to become a nitfas and then a zirus or somebody else. Okay, so it doesn't. You have to either he has to be Muvatar on the cup of the Rav, or he has to say himself Hareini Nazir afterwards. So the Gemara is happy with Rish Lakish. It brings a price like him.
Rabbi Yehuda
Nasiya.
Nasiya is like a colleague.
He seems to be a Rebbe even a little bit. Like he's on the same level. It seems Rish Lakish a lot of times quotes him in the Shas. We find
Okay,
Rish Lakish Mishima Yehuda Nasiya.
Price of the.
He's a price like him, and that's why I'm going to ask him. Lema Masayeh, the Gemara thinks it has a proof to him from our Mishnah. Here's our Mishnah.
Is there a Mishnah?
Yeah, the beginning of our Pesachta, of our parak. Mi Shamar, Hareini Nazir, Shama Chaver, Amar Vani, Vani. It gives 2 people,
Yeah.
2 people hanging on. How long does it take Vani? Vani is the same thing as Shalom. The sek Vani, Alacha. Like it gave you two people can fit in to the time.
Over too low, I see.
How
Because that's the
about 3
amount of
people?
time of Shalom Aleichem.
Right. Now there's a small problem over here that he could have said 3, because Shalom Aleichem Rabbi is 3 words. So I could have said 3 people.
I have no, but it takes a second from one.
Syllables. Count the syllables.
Okay.
Count the syllables, it's, can't get.
You're counting syllables, you're not counting words.
7 syllables. Vani is 3.
The Gemara is not counting syllables. The Gemara is counting words. And the Gemara, there's a kasha on the Gemara that it could have said.
It should have 3, right?
But
Okay, that's this
if you
discussion.
count syllables, it's not a problem. It's not a kash on the Gemara. That's all.
Why? Because Shalom Aleichem Rabbi gives you how many syllables?
7.
And Vani.
That's 6. It's no time for a third.
No, but doesn't that be within? Does that if you started within, is it enough? I think if you start within, it's enough because you're not.
Four. How come it says 2? It could have said 4. I'm leaving out number 3. That's the kasha. Okay, that's the kasha. Because according to Yehuda Nasiya, that you have even right after Shlomo Aleichem Rabbi is still good enough. So it could have said Vani. You could have had 4. That still would have been within the time limit. if Reish Lakish says Shalom Aleichem Rabbi, that's 3. Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya said you could do
Oh, you
4
need,
also.
because you need one for the Rebbe.
Shalom Aleichem Rabbi.
You need one for the Rebbe. Is that what
The
you
way you say greeting to a Rebbe is Shalom Aleichem
mean?
Rabbi.
That's 3 words.
It's 3 words.
So Vani, it's 4 words.
And Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya says that's still good because Shalom
You need
Aleichem
one for the
Rabbi.
Rebbe.
Vani.
Mhm.
Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya said that even if it's after Torah Dibur, as long as it's right after Torah
Yeah,
Dibur,
okay,
it's still
for a
good.
second, so-
So,
yeah.
okay, so the Gemara means a proof. Since it doesn't
may be
say,
counting from the beginning of Shalom Aleichem, it's at the end of it, then you start.
you have to talk within, you have to accept it within the time of Shalom Aleichem Rabbi. So the Gemara says that how come it doesn't, if what Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, you could have done, 4 people could have hooked on. One person said Aveni Nazir, and then within Torah K'dei Dibur, plus some K'dei Dibur, you have 4 words. Shalom Aleichem Rabbi, plus. So you'd be able to get 4 Banis. So how come it only says 2?
I would think everything each ani has to be Debo. So you can have 15 of them as long as each one still could the previous one.
The Gemara doesn't know that yet.
No, right now we're saying each one is building on the other Vani, aren't they?
No, that's, he said the Gemara didn't know that yet. Going with that knees going, right now the Gemara is going back knees back.
They're all going on the first guy.
And they all have to say Torah K'dei Dibur of the first one, who said Aveni Nazir. How many people could you get in Torah K'dei Dibur of the first person who said Aveni Nazir?
We could have 100. Have a choir.
If they said
Nazir, and then 99 people say Vani.
right, that also could have been. But the Gemara, that's not the case of the Mishnah. The case of the Mishnah is
It would
that
have
one person said Vani,
consecutive.
another person said Vani.
But
And if
they
that's
both-
the case,
it
it
was
could have been 4
consecutive,
people
but they both go on with
on the first one, right? So the Gemara was asking, you could have you could have gotten 4 people in. Why does it only say 2?
And the 4, I just want to make sure it was clear. It's not on, in other words, he wants to do low plut because if there's a Rebbe, you need time to say.
Yeah. Once you
Once
say
you
that,
add
we're
it,
gonna,
you
so
add
we
it for
allowed.
everybody.
Yeah. It doesn't have that difference if the Rebbe is there or not. It's going to be some of K'dei Dibur, not Torah K'dei Dibur, some of K'dei Dibur. That's what we didn't see. So the Gemara is being approved that it should have said a bigger figure. It should have said 4. Why does it only say 2? So the Gemara is not so happy.
Because once there's too many of them, you won't be able to define what each is saying.
Why not? Vani.
Yeah, but if you want to speak one by one, 2, you can still get it.
Vani.
Yeah, one,
We can do it right now. Aveni Nazir. What-
Everybody, think you have everybody?
No, we did it.
I don't think it. I'm not taking
We
any
practiced.
chances.
What'd you say?
I'm not saying I'm not taking any chances.
But low 2 is a question.
V'sulo.
The Sulo is a question.
Yeah, it means that that's a raya, it's a proof that you can't do 4. Well, it could have done 4. Why does it only say 2? It could have said 4. Of course, there's a question mark over here. Why doesn't it say 3? So we'll leave it out for Taisus. But the fact that it doesn't say 4, that's the Gemara's raya that 4 would be too much. My answer is
This is to show
that 4 is too much.
Rebbe
is wrong. Right. The more answer is Tanaki Rochla said the Tana keep on listing it out like a peddler that he's going to list out Vani. That's the Tana doesn't talk that way. It really could have, but it doesn't want to. Doesn't choose to. So the more asks if that's so, that it doesn't want to talk so much. So it could have said 1 Vani. I would have figured out by myself that you could do it more. If it's not telling you the chiddush that you could do even a bigger Torah K'dei Dibur, some K'dei Dibur, so I should have just said 1 time. Then we would have been able to figure out whatever you want to tell us. The more answer is you could have taken only 1 Vani, or Mishim Dektani Sefer, Hutter Rishon, Hutter Kulan, Hutter Achron, Mutter Bekulan Asurin, which is going to be an Hemshech of the Mishnah. Right away, it's going to say that if you had these people who hooked onto him by saying Vani, and then the first one did Torah Sidorim, so all of them are Mutter. If the last one did Torah Sidorim, then all of them remain Aser. Mechlal Dikem Soy. Since we see the Mishnah talking about a case where there are 3 people, it wants to continue talking. If that would have been there in the Mishnah, just wanted to tell you dinner Vani, it would have said 1 Vani. The reason why it says a couple of Vani, 2 Vanis, is because it wants to tell you the Hemshech that there's going to be a nafkamina if the first one is Matan Eder, the last one is Matan Eder. So I wanted to talk about 3 people. It said the first one, and then a Vani, and then Vani, and now it talks about 3 people. So it can say if the first one is Matan Eder, the second 2 are Mutter, if the last one, then the first 2 are Aser. Since it wants to talk about 3 people, so it spoke about a Vani. But you're right, as far as the Chiddush that you could hook on, the Mishnah is not going into that. You do have to have Torah K'dei Dibur, and we don't hold like Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. The Gemara thought that it has, the Gemara did think that it has a raya. The Gemara at the end doesn't have a raya from the Mishnah. It has a brisa before. We had Tani Namayachi means Rish Lakish is right. The Gemara thought that we can bring raya from the Mishnah. The fact that it says not 4 times would be a raya to Rish Lakish, but that the Gemara answers not such a raya. Tani Kiruch Lalechel Belezel. The Gemara explains. The Gemara explains Rabbi Yehuda also how we can get through our Mishnah. But anyway, we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, like Rish Lakish. That has to be Toch Dibur. It's not enough that it's somewhat Toch Dibur. It does have to be Toch Dibur. And the Rishonim explained that it means 3 words. Shlomo Lach Rabbi. End of Sugya. New Sugya. This one came up already in the discussion. The first person said Aveni Nazir. Then people said afterwards Vani, Vani, Vani. So how does it work? Does it work that everybody's saying Vani on the first one? Let's say Reuven was the first one. He said Aveni Nazir. And then a bunch of people said after him, not simultaneously, they said consecutively, but they said Vani, Vani, Vani. Is everybody hooking on to the first one, to Reuven, or is Shimon hooking on to Reuven, and Levi's hooking on to Shimon, and he just hooking on to Levi? That's called, is everybody,
That's the B'chavre.
Chad B'chavre Mitzvahs means each one is going on to his fellow man, the one before him, they're online, or everyone is going on to the Kama.
Yeah.
Everyone's going on to the
That might be
original.
the reason why, that might be the din, that's then why not 4. The 2 are not 4. Because they are following the previous one, that's it. If they all heard the first one say it, then they're already mentally prepared to say Rani. Whereas if they're only on one, then they're waiting to respond to the previous, and then that, the next one's answering on the previous, that previous one. Each one is waiting for the next. That's a longer process than if they all hear from the first.
I'm not sure what you're coming to say with that. What are you
Taking
coming to say?
longer.
It doesn't.
Extending the time. Yeah, it is.
They're all in the same room, and they
Yeah,
all
but
hear
they're
everything,
waiting
but
for
they're
the-
doing it.
They all have to hear the first guy, or else the ani is meaningless. But then what are they saying ani for?
So they heard the first one, but now when the 5th one says Vani,
Right.
is he saying Vani on the first one, or he's just waiting his turn to?
No, he like.
Or is he saying
this
Bani
could
on the
be-
4th one?
Because Moshe is gonna be a Nazir, so you want to be, it, even though he just said Bani. He's the one that doesn't want it.
That's the most question. It could be that what you mean is what the Gemara is going to say, but that's so far the Gemara is the question. Two study.
The longer time that it would.
I think you're touching what the Gemara is going to say, but maybe the Gemara will articulate it.
We're not talking about time already. Time is not the issue.
I know it's just hinting that there is going to be more time allowed if you're going to. We'll see the Gemara. That's what the Gemara is going to say. But so far the Gemara is two study. Is everybody saying Vani hooking on to the person before him, or they're all hooking on to the first one? What would be the difference in this question? That who say Amazon? If you could keep on going on and seizing more and more. If each person looks onto the person before him, mitfisin v'azlan la'olam, they can go on as long as they want, as long as you talk to the dibur of the person before you. But that's what Chaim David was saying, that you have more time because you have to the dibur of the person before you. But v'yam it become a mitfisi. But if everyone has to hook onto the first one, everyone has to get in, talk to the dibur of the first one.
But not only that, but if the first guy ends it some way,
Matin there.
right, then they're all matin. Then goes if it goes all back to the first one, then all on these, and if he's matin, then they're all finished.
That's true, but the other way also would be like that. If
No,
everyone is a
because then-
dominoes, the
no,
first
but
one,
Then
the first one
guy will
falls
go by
off.
the second guy. So if
But the second
guy-
one, fell off because the first one fell off. If there is a line and you take off the first one, so then it's dominoes. The second one falls off, so the third one falls off. So either way it would work. Put the Rishon, put the Kulan will be either way. But the Gemara is going to talk about it. But so far the Gemara is two stadim, and the Gemara said what the nafkamina would be. The two stadim are everyone's looking on to the one before him, or everyone's looking on to the first one. And the nafkamina would be if you have to do all the talk the dibra of the first one, and then you only could get a couple of people. How many people could you get in? 2, 3, but maybe 4. I think Gemara's going to talk about it. But if you hold that everyone has talked to the dibra, the one before him, so you can keep on going as long as each one has talked to the dibra, the one before him. Tashma. So we'll go back to our Mishnah to try to bring a raya. Aveni Nazir, V'shama Chaver, V'ama Vani, Vani. That's our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said 2 people added on, 2 people hooked on. Why doesn't it say 5 people hooked on? Same as before, but before the Gemara with the raya of how many people you can get in talk to the dibra of the first one. But now the Gemara is saying if you say that you don't even need to talk to the dibra of the first one, you just need to talk to the dibra of the one before you. So it didn't have to limit it to 2, 3, 4. It could have been many. It could have been 5 plus. because you'd only have to have talked to the one before you. V'sulam midi, you can't have more than that. Why can't you have more? Shrami no b'kama hu demitzvasi. It must be everyone has to hook onto the first one. If everyone just has to hook onto the one before him, listi tuva vani. It could have been many vanis. You could have had 10, 20, whatever you want. So the Gemara says, what do you want? The Tana should keep on going. The Tana should go on and say so many, 5 times, to tell you that you could do like it. So then, if you don't want to tell us a chiddush, we're listening. This is the same as the Gemara before. We're listening chad, we're listening minan kulhon. So if you don't want to tell me this chiddush that you could hook on to the one before you, so let's say one vani. What do you have to have? A whole, two vanis. The answer is I did the tani huta rishon, huta kulan, huta achon muta, kulan asurin. Same Torah as before, because the Mishnah didn't want to tell you, okay, so 3 people altogether to talk about the kulan, that if the first one is going to be mataneder, the rest of them are going to fall off. If the last one's going to be mataneder, only he's going to fall off, but that doesn't affect the previous ones. So it wanted to talk about 3 people. So that's why I said, okay, so vani vani. But it's not a proof that you have to fit into the first, hook on to the first one. It could be everyone's hooking on to the one before him, and it could be many, many people. So the more doesn't see a raya yet. Raya number 2. Tashma. Huta Rishon Hutru Kulan. That's the mission we just said. That if the first one was Matan Eder, the rest of them after him all follow. Rishon Hudish Sharu Soilo. It sounds like only, this is touching on what Moshe said, but going deeper. That it's mashma only if the first one is going to be Matan Eder, then everybody's going to become mutter. What if the second one was Matan Eder? What do you say? The same scenario. Somebody said, Nazir and Abani Bani, Reuben Shimon Levi. What if Shimon was Matan Eder?
So it depends if it goes back to the first one, or if it doesn't go back to the first one, then it would only be the third one.
If it goes back to the first one,
Then it would
Then
be
Levi
everybody
would be
after.
fine.
sorry?
Then Levi would continue to be a Nazir.
Because he hooked on to Reuben, irrelevant of Shimon. Irrelevant if Shimon is on or off. But if it goes back to the one before, if Shimon will be off, he also will be off.
Right.
I wasn't wanting a raya. It says only if the first one is matan eder, everyone after him is mutter. But if the middle one would have been matan eder, it doesn't say everyone would have been mutter. That's mashma shmamina. The common mitzvah, that sounds like everyone's cooking onto the first one. But the Gemara says not a raya. I could tell you really everyone goes on to hooks onto the one before him, and the truth would have been that even if the middle Shimon would have been matan eder, also Levi would have been mutter. It is a domino. But I did the way Mishnah Hushru Kulan, the Itanem Soy Ika Rishon the low mystery. The Lashon wouldn't have been good. It couldn't have said Hushru Kulan. The Kulan wouldn't have been true. If Shimon is matan eder, surely Reuben's not going to be matan eder. It doesn't go off. Reuben was the first one, so it wanted to say the word of Hushru Kulan. So it said the first one. If the first one is mutter, then everyone's mutter. If the second one is mutter, not everyone is mutter. Only if I met him past him. So it wanted to have a uniform way of talking. So it said Hushru Kulan. That's why I talked about the first one. But if the second one is mutter, or if it's 10 people did it, so then if the 5th one did it, from him and on, everyone is mutter because he broke the chain, and everyone is doing on the one before him. So the Gemara doesn't see a raya yet. Tashma, the Gemara is still trying to prove this question. The rest of them, the next case in the Mishnah, if the last one did Hataras Nador, it's only his mutter, but it doesn't affect anybody before him. The low, it only spoke about the last one. How about if it would have been somebody with not the last one? The low Ika Achrina Basrei. It does talk about the last one that no one is after him. But if there would have been somebody in the middle, Avalim Soy, if there would be somebody in the middle, the Ika Achrina Basrei, what's the mashma? That they would have been mutter. The Mishnah says if the last one is matan eder, only is mutter, everybody else is asa. And it doesn't say that. It doesn't say it about the middle ones. It also says about the last one. What would the mashmos be? That if somebody in the middle would have been matan eder,
Won't affect anybody else.
it won't affect anybody else.
Why not the man of the first
It
one?
won't affect anybody else. Again,
We were the last guy muttered.
The other way
I
around.
think the other way.
We're saying
Other way around. The middle
That
one.
if the middle one would have been matan eder, it doesn't say that everybody else is going to be asa. Mashma, that some people would be mutter.
Would be
Why?
mutter, the ones
Shramina,
after.
the ones after him, Shramina, Chad B'Chavei mitzvahs. Here the Gemara is being a right that each one is hooking onto the one before him, and therefore only if the last one is matan eder, everybody else is usher. But if one of the middle ones would be matar neder, then the ones after him would be mutter. So this is the right the other way. I think Gemara's matchilas raya also. Lo lebeim become a mitzvah, and I still could tell you that everyone goes back to the first one, and it's true that if somebody in the middle would be matar neder, it wouldn't affect anybody else. Or my achuniktani, I'm sorry. That's what it really means. But the Mishnah says the last one, it doesn't mean the last. It means anybody that's after the first. So I did the Tana Rishon, Tana Achron. That's contrasting the words. If it says Rishon, it says Achron. Achron doesn't really mean the last one. The truth is that the Gemara in these two past rayas, the Gemara could have been a bit easier, like standard Gemara. If it says a dik from the Resha and opposite dik from the Seifa, so you say Yalam Lahal Lekal Mishmamina. You can't be medayik if the two mashma uyos so slow. So if it has two opposite derivations, so you can't derive from here. But here the Gemara does. Which one I can what?
You're Nazir.
We're Nazir, it's different. Russian Nazir goes different. But the Gemara says so far no raya. And now finally the Gemara is a fair shabraisa, no the yukim of fair shabraisa. What's our question again? If everybody's looking on to the one before him, or everyone's looking on to the first one, Tashma Tanya Behedia, an open brisa. But the Rishon. Both through Kula. The first one that's not the Darm, everybody's mutter. But the Achron mutter Kula Asurin. If the last one is Matan Neder, only affects him, doesn't affect anybody else. But I'm sorry, that's what we're looking for. And men ulamata mutter, and men ulamala aser. Anybody after him, past him, is mutter because they're all hanging on to him, and everybody before him is aser because they weren't hanging on to him. Shramina chad b'chavei mitzvahs. Shramina. So you see that everyone's sitting on to the one before him, and we found the answer to the question that everyone is sitting on to the one before him. Everyone's happy. Dominoes. It works dominoes. Okay, if that's good. So we did already two sugyas. The first one is Tochli Dibur, and has to be Tochli Dibur, and not Samuch Tochli Dibur. The second sugya is that when you have these things, everyone's doing it on the one before. Next Gemara. So the Mishnah, next Mishnah. The Mishnah said this is the second part of the Mishnah. Let's scroll back a second. This was the case of the green over here. One said I already knows it. The second one said my mouth is like his mouth, my hair is like his hair, and that's considered a Nazir also. So we know the Maskana already probably, so we're not going to understand the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara thinks, he's saying that just because he said my mouth is a Nazir, my hair is a Nazir, that makes him a Nazir. This is a fancy guy. We don't talk like this, but I know he's a London, and he said Yadi Nazira. Ragli Nazira. Somebody says, my hand is a Nazir. My hand is a Nazir. My foot is a Nazir. Anybody understand what he's saying? He said, my hand is a Nazir. So that doesn't make him a Nazir. Because no such thing as a hand being a Nazir. But if somebody said, my head, what?
He meant the hand won't pick up a grape and eat it. And the foot means he won't walk into the big forest.
You're a genius.
Oh, wow.
You're a genius.
I think the Gemara doesn't mean that.
No?
Let's see one more line. Roshi Nazira, Kvedi Nazira. He talks about his head. My head is a Nazir. My liver is a Nazir. I raise a Nazir. He becomes a Nazir. Why is that? I raise a Nazir. Anything that is a vital organ that he can't live without it, like his head or his kidney, so liver. So then it made the whole person a Nazir. But something which is not a vital organ, so it doesn't affect the rest of the body. And his hand being a Nazir doesn't affect anything. In fact, it's not going to be that his hand can't go into the basic floor. There's no such thing. So what is the one asking? That a mouth, or at least the hair, is not it's not a vital organ. The person can go out his hair, takes a haircut. It's not a vital organ. So why, by making his hair a Nazir, the Gemara thought that the Pshat in the Mishnah is that I'm making my hair a Nazir. My hair is a Nazir like his hair is a Nazir. So that's not enough. So the answer is Pasha. That's not what the Mishnah means. He meant to say like this: and Sari Kisaro Milo goes. He doesn't just mean to say my hair is a Nazir, like to show that my hand is a Nazir. He wants to say that my mouth is also to drink wine. My hair is also to be cut. That's what he's saying. So that's why it works, because he's not coming to say he's declaring the zeros on his hair. He's saying my hair is also to cut because I'm a Nazir. Of course, he's going the whole person. He means the whole person. It's the way that a person is expressing his Kabbalah's and zeros on the whole person by saying that my hair is also to be cut because I'm a Nazir. That means I'm a Nazir. So that is a good way to be Makabal Naziros. Next part of the Mishnah. Irene is zero, Vashama Bala V'Amar V'ani Eni Yachal Laper. This we spoke about in the Mishnah, and we had we spoke about it. If she said she's in a zero, and my husband said me too, he can't be made for anymore. And came up two possibilities.
The easy one was Sheki Makayim.
The easy one is that he's Mekayim, by he's affirming it by saying Dami, he's building on it even. So he's affirming it. The other shot was that if he's gonna nullify her, indirectly he's nullifying himself, and then he doesn't have a right to do. Baal make him okay, Aduma make his guys. So there's the interesting that we'll learn the Pashup shot that most Mefarshim learn. There's a Rambam that says different, but we'll take the Pashup shot that the Mefarshim learn. And this has to do, does it go Meikara or does it go Meikana Lava? When a person nullifies his wife's neder by saying Mufallah for his daughter, and he says Mufar, does it go retroactively or does it go from here on? So we know from Nidorim that it goes. No, only by Torah. That's a Torah. There's a Torah Sodom and a Forest Sodom. When you go to a Bezdin, a Chacham, and they say you have retroactively, so that goes retroactively. That's for sure. That when you mount that goes retroactively, that you have Charata Meikora. But if you do a Forest Sodom, so then the Gemara in the Durham said the whole time they could do the Mikana Labba. From till now it was a neder, and from here on in it's not. But here the Gemara has a question about it. We had a couple of days ago that the Gemara said the opposite. The Gemara said that by a Forest Sodom also goes retroactively. That was the case we had that 2 days ago, that few tests. But here the Gemara brings up the question. When a husband is nullifying his wife's neder, does it work retroactively? Or does it work cutting it, which means, the words of the Gemara is, does he uproot it or does he cut it? And the Mefarshim explained, uprooting it means from its beginning, from the root, from the beginning it never was, or is he cutting it means Mikana Labba. Till now it wasn't there, just from now on it's not. That's how they learn the Gemara. There's another pshat, but we'll learn this pshat. The mind after me, what would it be ramifications of this question? The Isha Shenadu Nazir, V'shama Chavata, V'amra Vani, V'shama Bala Shel Rishona, V'hefrala. A woman accepted upon herself to be in a zero, and her friend heard, another one, a neighbor. She's also a married woman, and she said, me too. And then the husband of the first one heard that his wife accepted the zeros and he nullified it. Does that affect the second one? If it goes retroactively, so then the neighbor also is mutter because she hung on to her, and she's not. It's retroactively. She didn't do anything. So the second one is also not going to be in a zero. But but if she's only cutting it off from here on in, so at the time that she said I'm in a zero, she wasn't a zero. So the first woman, the husband Mata was Mata, but the friend would still be us because when she said me too, it was a real me too because the first one was really in a zero. That's the Gemara's question. So it just says so far and it said enough Kamina. Tashma. Areni, back to our Mishnah. Areni is zero. V'shama Ba'al Amavani. Any Yachalapa. The Mishnah we're talking about that the woman be accepted upon herself in zeros. The husband said me too, and it says can't be made for anymore. Why not? Why can't it be made for anymore? So the Gemara doesn't go to the shot of affirming it. That'll be soon. The Gemara thinks because it's going to affect him. That's not a shot that we said. That maybe he's not allowed to take off his own Naziris. And if I take him off his wife's Naziris, it's going to indirectly take off his Naziris. He doesn't have the right to do that. Mm-hmm. So why is it going to take? Why does it take off his Naziris? If you say make his guy, it only takes it off from here on in, but it doesn't take it off retroactively. So even if now he's going to be made for his wife's neder, it's not going to take off his Naziris. So why shouldn't he be able to be made for? The make his guy is if when a husband nullifies his wife's neder, Naziris, it's only from here on in. Let him nullify his wife's, and he's still going to remain usher. The whole problem is, the Gemara thinks the whole problem is that he can't take off his own Naziris. But it doesn't take off his own Naziris. It must be that it does take off his own Naziris. That's why he can't do it. I'll make her. Okay, it must be from this mission you see that he's uprooting it from its inception, from the beginning. And that's why he's not allowed to do it because it's going to affect himself. And he can't take off his own nether. The Gemara says, no, the other shot that we said, Lo Megas guys. It could be that he is only cutting it off from here on in. So he should be able to be made within the lefer. So he should be able to be made for because it's not affecting him. Within the lefer, really he should be able to nullify his wife's nether because it's not affecting him. You know why he can't? Since he said me too, that's another way of affirming it.
What happened here? He wasn't able to make fair.
Why can't he not be made fair? That's the
Because he
question. Why
said-
can't he not be made fair?
Yeah,
Because by saying me too, it's as if he's affirming what she said. It's he's even building on it. He's building on what she says. So
that's
that's
the word
that's it.
time.
Time means to affirm.
That's the last word.
Time lechi, dummy. It's it's as if he said it's affirmed to you. And the Gemara ends off, we had this concept that a person could be shoal on a kiyum. A person affirmed his wife's neder, not after Nazir's neder. He made a kiyum, so he can't do afar anymore. Once he did a kiyum, he can't do afar, but you could undo, you go to a chacham and undo the kiyum that you did. You can undo your hakama. Here also, you could undo his hakama. And then he'd be able to be mefer. So really, so that's true. We know there's such a thing as being shoal on a hakama. So why does the more bring it in over here? So Machavus explained to me that this is what's happening in the difference between the two terutzim. According to the first way, the Gemara understood that the reason why the Baal can't be made for his wife is because it's going to indirectly affect him. So then he couldn't do this either. He couldn't be shoal on his hakama either, because if it's going to be shoal on his hakama and then be made for, it's also affecting him, and he can't affect himself. But if now the Gemara is saying that's not the problem. The problem is only that he's being making. If that's the only problem, okay, so he can be shown on hakama. So the Gemara again, the Gemara
Then his Nazirus would be off.
what?
Then his Nazirus would be off.
And I said, yeah, he could. There's no problem. The Gemara's coming out. There's no problem if he indirectly pulls the rug out and then his Nazirus is off. It's only a problem. There's not a lot of. If once he was making, he can't be maker. Okay, so he can't be. So that's all it means. But it has no proof to the issue about is it retroactively or is it mikan laba. The Gemara doesn't see it right. It could be that it takes it off from mikan laba. He takes it off from here on in. But the reason why, if he said, but me too, the reason why I can't be made for anymore is because he already affirmed it. If he wants to, he could be shoal on his hakama. That he could do. One more raya. The more goes on. I'm not going to be finished today. We'll just try to do one more. I'm not sure if I got this straight, but let's try. Tashma. Another raya. Again, we want to know if the husband, when he nullifies the wife's neder, does it go retroactively or only from here on in? A woman who made herself a Nazira, and she even separated the karbonos that she needed. She designated the karbonos that she needs. She didn't become tamei. Everything's going well. And she even separated the animals that she needs. She needs a chatas and a ola and a shlamim. And then the husband heard about it, and he said nothing doing, no naziros. So is the animal, what's the with the animal? She has an animal over here, that's the korban. So if the animal was his, she designated his animal for her korban, which the truth is that her husband does have to bring his wife's korbanos. So she thought she's a nazira, and she separated his animal for her korban, and now comes out the husband nullifies it, and there is no the husband nullifies it, nullified her neder. So takes it to so the animal is chulin. Let it go back, put it back into the flock. There's nothing holy about it. Even though the pasture. Let it pasture in the flock. Which means there's nothing. That doesn't mean, sometimes it means that tira means that it's a pasture until it gets a moon, the whole fancy thing. It doesn't mean that. It's let it go out and pasture like it's a regular chulin. It's a nothing. And it was a mistake. The whole thing is off. But if it was her animal, so then it doesn't go the kedusha. She designated to be a korban chatas. A chatas tamus, the one that was designated through a korban chatas, dies. They put it into a room that it should die. It has to die because it is a korban. Because it was her animal. She had rights on her animal. She doesn't have rights on her husband's animal. If at the end it's not going to be in a zirus, but she does have rights on her own animal, and it becomes holy. And then what? Now that's the fact. That's the Brisa Mishnah. I forgot what it is. If when a husband nullifies his wife's nazirus, it goes retroactively. So in any case, it should be nothing. She designated an animal to be a chatas for a nazira. She's not a nazira. Typical chulin. In any case, even if it's her own animal, not only if it's her husband's animal, even if it's her own animal, also it should be nothing because retroactively the nazirus was taken off. About make his guys. Let me see it right from here that the husband only cuts it off from here on in, and therefore when she made the carbon designated as a chatas, it was a chatas.
Oh, if it was from the ikar, he took it off.
If he takes it off retroactively, so then she never was a nazira. If someone who's not a nazir just said this animal is designated for a korban nazir, for my carbon Nazir, and she's not a Nazir. So it doesn't take effect.
Yeah.
The Gemara says not necessarily. I could tell you really it goes back retroactively. Behind the timer, and this is the reason that the animal is holy, even though it was taken off retroactively. So I say one shot over here, change the girsa. Chivon the tzricha, take out the low, take out the low. Take out the low. There's two questions in the girsa over here. We show two girsos. If you take out the low, so it's easier to read. Chivon the tzricha kapara, since she does need an atonement. What are we saying? Even though it goes off retroactively, since what's she need atonement for? Since she does need an atonement, it's like a chatas that the owner died. We know that a chatas that the owner died is supposed to let the animal die. What's the answer? Really, we're saying that it goes off retroactively. She never was in a zero. She still needs atonement. So this reminds us that the Rishonim say what the Gemara said before, that sometimes even if there's no zeros, but the fact that you wanted to be a Nazir, that's that you're abstaining, it's not a good thing to abstain. Hashem gave you wine while you're abstaining, so it's considered a chait. And even though here it comes out that she abstained for nothing, because it wasn't really official abstinence, because the husband uprooted it retroactively. But she has to have a kapara for wanting to abstain, for abstaining. What?
She did abstain.
She abstained, but it was right. It was abstinence, which was not an official abstinence. It wasn't a halachic
Abstaining
abstinence.
is a bad thing.
Abstaining is a bad thing, and she's a chatas for
Not
that.
because of the shame Nazir.
Right, she's not really a Nazira. It's not really. So could you bring this korban chatas? It's not really a korban chatas. It's not a korban chatas, but it has some kind of a reach. It has some kind of a fragrance of a korban chatas, because it was sinful that she accepted to be a Nazira, even if the husband eventually uprooted it retroactively. So therefore, we look at it like a korban chatas, and she can't bring it because she's not a Nazira. Here it says mesu bala, as if the owner died. Here she did die, but her Naziras died. The husband, if there's a korban chatas that someone designated, and then the owner died. So what do you do with the korban chatas?
Oh, I see. And the fact that she's no longer a Nazir.
Right, even though she's not.
She's like she died.
Right, it's not like she's no longer. She's no longer a Nazira. So as far as we're concerned, she's no longer the one who can bring a korban chatas. If it will be such a case that a person was machal Shabbos and they therefore separated the korban, and then somehow they took off the chil Shabbos. The person's still here, but there's no chil Shabbos. How do you do that? It's impossible. But over here will be the case that she was a Nazira and she needed a korban chatas, and now she's no longer here because the Nazira is no longer here. She's a regular woman. She wasn't a Nazir anymore. So it's like the owner dies, not here anymore.
And then we have to let the animal die.
She let the animal die. You look at it like it's a korban chatas, even though it's really not.
And so seeing that the animal has to die doesn't prove that it's.
That's a
made.
korban, right? Doesn't show that it's
it was
only that it wasn't
made.
really a Nazira, really was not a Nazira retroactively, and still you let the animal die. So we're still in the middle of the proof. So the Gemara's not finished yet. We still don't know if the Naziris, if the nether goes back when he's away for it, does it retroactively undone or only from here on? Yashikar, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the way we always learned it up until now was that it was from here on anyway.
Right, and that's gonna be the
This is the
maskana.
whole sugi about if it's true or not.
Yes,
sugya is-
but our impression is that true. This is the sugya. This is where it talks about if the
Our
husband
impression
goes
is that it's only from now on.
right, and that's right. If anybody wants to sleep tonight, the
Guys,
answer is going to be that it's only the count of
me,
Megas
How do you
guys.
say it?
Megas guys.
Megas guys.
It's not a rat. That was the
That's
door.
the spoiler is Megas guys.
What?
We call it a spoiler.
A spoiler means that what? That from
The bottom line is gonna be, even though we didn't get there yet, is that that it's only from now on.
it's only from now on. And a Torah Dorm goes retroactively, and a Forest Dorm goes from here on.
Like if you're telling about a story. and so I'm
you
gonna
said
give you
a
a
punch-
spoiler, I'm gonna give you the end.
That's fun. Punchline. Okay. Yes,
Maybe he's letting us sleep tonight.